welcome everybody. It was probably almost 12 months, more than 12 months ago that I I went to something by the Adelaide Uni at the Wine Centre. It was called Think See. So it was an accelerated program on innovations and inventions in Adelaide of what they call entrepreneurs. And there was a pitch. There was probably about 10, maybe more.
Eight different pitches.
Eight pitches for various bunch of things. And then I heard Jeff do his pitch and saw what he had on a table and a setup, and I thought, this guy's more than an entrepreneur. He's an inventor. He's one of our crowd, one of our people, and I got his card and had a bit of a chat and talked a little bit more about it and asked questions like, "Oh, where did you buy this?" "Oh, design it. You got to do it." And it just made me even more excited. Then ended up trying to contact, and there was a bit of stuff that didn't happen, but finally we managed to get Jesse to come in and talk about what he's invented and why, the story behind it, even the story behind the name. I thought when I first saw it, I thought it's some kind of French thing, Qusion or something, you know. But he tells me it's about fusion, so he'll explain that. So I hope you really enjoy it. It's a little bit different to what we've had in the past, and we try really hard to bring you all sorts of different inventions and innovations. So please welcome Jesse from Qusion.
Qusion, yeah.
Qusion. Quick Fusion.
That's it.
Quick Fusion. To tell us about his story and share. And the other thing I thought, just looking around, and I say this with all respect, I think he drops the age sort of average a little bit, doesn't he? So we can do that. So welcome, Jesse.
Beautiful, thank you. Awesome. Hi everyone, and thank you for that lovely intro as well. I think it was about 10 months ago when we first met. So a lot has happened in that 10 months. I think the last time we saw each other, I had an earlier version of our machine. So within that period of time, I've actually developed and built a newer iteration of the invention. And yeah, I guess I'll speak through that and the journey and give you a bit of insight on my journey to date. So I guess to start, to provide a bit of context as well, I want you to picture yourself at home, maybe having dinner with your loved ones or with a group of friends. But at the spur of the moment, you decide that you need a drink. But not just any kind of drink, but a freshly made cocktail. Maybe an espresso martini for the coffee lovers, a Cosmo for the sweet tooths, or even a classic martini, shaken, not stirred, of course. But you sort of think to yourself, how do you even make an espresso martini? Or what ingredients do I need for that Cosmo? So you then spend hours and hundreds of dollars researching, traveling, buying, measuring, mixing, shaking, and then finally making that single cocktail. Only to be disappointed though. It was probably the worst martini you've ever had, and you never plan to use the ingredients again. So instead, you go to a bar, sort of excited to finally have that martini you couldn't recreate at home. But then you're given a table number to sit away from the bar, and 20 minutes and $24 later, your cocktail finally arrives. But then you think to yourself, the dinner I ordered earlier that night arrived both quicker and cost less than this single cocktail. And this is really the problem. Inconvenience, effort, and costs limit the overall market potential of cocktails as well as your business. And complexity, wait times, space, and even staffing challenges prevent cocktails from being offered in the first place or lead to inconsistent quality and limit your business's revenue potential. So imagine a solution that allows anyone to deliver a quality, consistent cocktail every single time. And this is where I invented Qusion, the solution. So this is the world's first multi-capsule cocktail maker. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. I promise you the innovation itself isn't actually that complicated to use. But I thought it would be important to at least provide a bit of context around the problem and the solution, which sort of informs, the rest of the sort of design journey and process that I've taken to date. But a bit more about the innovation. So how the actual machine works, this is our latest iteration here. We use a range of capsules, which we have labeled as Q-pods. So this is just an example 3D print of one that I've got here. We actually have different sample ones there, which these pods actually contain cocktails in themselves. But this is what ultimately our pod will eventually look like. Each of these Q pods essentially contain the entire ingredient for your cocktail, including the alcohol. And basically what you would do is you would insert this capsule into the machine as such, and then you would pull this lever, and that would extract the contents of the pod into a cocktail shaker. And then once that is plugged in, you would literally press a button, and this machine will physically shake the cocktail for you, creating a bit of a visual and audible experience similar to what you would expect at an actual bar. So this design is patent applied for. We just recently submitted our PCT, which is fantastic. It means we can patent this internationally in the near future. And this works. I do have a couple of product demos. I'm not sure if the sound is working on this or if we necessarily will have to go through those videos, but there are links there that take you to our 2 iterations. I think like I was saying before, when I met Sasha 10 months ago, I actually demoed my business to consumer model. So that was like a smaller one, more for domestic homeowners. The one that you see here is actually our latest iteration. This is our business model, our B2B one. So yeah, there's some links there, there's videos which has me running, I guess, through the actual machine, making some cocktails. So we can probably check that out at another time. I think I do actually have a video here. This is what I showed at the pitch event 10 months ago. So this right here is our business to consumer model. Kind of see the process I was talking about, extracts the contents, and then, yeah, with the press of a button, it shakes it. So this differs to our business model. This is a single cocktail shaker, and it's a little bit more, I guess, suited for the home environment. So it's nowhere near as efficient as that machine that you see right there. This one here can shake up to 120 cocktails an hour. So, and it's not just one type of cocktail, it's a range of different cocktails as well. And I'll sort of go through where I've tested that, an example of where we have actually used this machine to create that volume of cocktails. And yeah, that's just sort of our catchphrase. I don't know how much longer I can get away with saying this, but we are labeling ourselves as the Nespresso of cocktails. Obviously, we're a bit more than just making cocktails, though. We really want to empower consumers and businesses to craft bar quality cocktails efficiently through innovative technology and elegant design, while preserving, most importantly, the art, fun, and magic that actually makes cocktail craft so special. And as a result, we're able to cater to both the B2B and B2C markets, which is why we have developed machines for both markets at this point in time. Awesome. That was a little bit of context around the innovation, the problem, and the solution. I guess I should also I think I've got this slide here just to give you a bit of background about myself, a bit of insight on the founder's background. So yes, my name is Jesse Cordoma. I'm the founder of Qusion. My journey with Qusion actually started with the University of Adelaide. So I studied civil, structural, and environmental engineering, and I graduated from the university, I think back in 2019. I actually can't quite recall if it was 2018 or 2019, so it's been a while. And Qusion, the concept was actually developed in my final year of university, and I'll go through that in a bit as well. Apart from Qusion, prior to me working on my own business full-time, I worked as a full-time engineer with GHD, so they're a large multinational, multidisciplinary consultancy here in Adelaide and globally as well. So I started as a graduate civil engineer, ultimately became a project manager and then a design manager before I just finished up and started working on my own business full time. So unfortunately, civil, structural, environmental engineering is the complete opposite fields of engineering required to build something like that. But I guess the design management and overall project management skills I learned from work sort of translated really well into my business. So yeah, was quite fortunate in that regard. Apart from engineering, I'm super passionate about sport. So I play tennis quite, socially, and I'm a competitive sprinter as well. So I don't know if anyone here knows of the stall gift. Yeah, I competed there, I think just over a month ago. So raced against Gout. Again, not sure if anyone's familiar with who that is, but the next Usain Bolt is what they're claiming him, and he's Australian, and he's a young gun, and completely annihilated me, but it was a good experience at least. And my best friend John actually won the stall gift. So he's my housemate, my best friend. I train with him every day. So that was a little fantastic sort of event that happened recently. But yeah, that's just a bit of insight on myself, my background. But obviously, I'm sure everyone here is a bit more keen to hear about the product development and the journey. I'm so used to talking about, I guess, the entrepreneurial side of my business, talking about business planning and investment and traction and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of rare that I get an opportunity to actually go through the sort of design process and the nitty-gritty around the journey. So yeah, excited to share that with everyone. I guess I'm not sure if this is anyone's experience, but this is this image I think I saw from either the internet or a different presentation as well. It's a product journey map. And this really resonated with me, which I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I think this is not just my experience with my own business, but even in consultancy as an engineer, this is really the process when you're trying to build something, especially if it's innovative. The concept that I developed first as a uni student and when I first developed Qusion as a uni student, really the vision I had differed quite a lot to where it's come to now. And it's really hard to determine what the vision or the product will look like at the end unless you actually go through, the preparation. You define, you discover, validate, ideate. And then, we're at the stage of, we're finalizing our concept and prototype right now, and we're implementing and planning to deliver our actual product towards the end of this year, which is super exciting. All right. In terms of the actual journey itself, that image there was the first ever render that I did as a uni student for Qusion. So you can see how it differs quite differently to to where we have come to now. Funnily enough, the name back then was actually Qtonic. So Qusion wasn't always named, obviously, Qusion. It was more of a quick or quality tonic back then. I'm not sure why we came up with that name, but I do. I'll go through that in a sec. But for further context, the innovation actually started with the University of Adelaide in my final year of engineering under a course known as the E-Tech Challenge. So the Entrepreneur's Tech Challenge is what that's called. So the whole purpose of this course was to develop a tech-based solution to a problem, just to put simply. Everyone back then developed an app. That was the phase. Everyone now is actually still developing an app, but I wanted to do something a bit more, I wanted something physical, something that I could actually be quite hands-on and get involved with. And the reason it's quite funny that I even started doing the E-Tech Challenge was I had the grades I wanted from university. I already had a graduate position at GHD locked in at this point in time, so I actually wanted to do a course that was a bit more lighthearted, something that was a bit more fun. And ended up taking it extremely seriously, and it quite literally changed the course of my entire life, so that was quite funny. This was a competition as well, so there was, other than me, there was a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs or uni students that were inventing other concepts and ideas. So we went through a bit of a pitching, Shark Tank sort of environment. This was my first time ever doing something like that, so it was quite interesting. But I was fortunate enough to actually ultimately win the competition with that early concept that you see right there. And going back to the name Qtonic, back then our pods, so obviously they're circular and they're quite standard capsules, a bit bigger than your standard ones, I should say. But back then the concept was actually triangular capsules, and you could combine the capsules together. If you'd imagine, each machine could fit about 6 capsules. So if you had 6 triangular capsules put together, it would create a hexagon, which sort of represented like a Q. So that's where we, Q also can refer to quality or quick, so we really wanted to stick with that. So that's where the name Qtonic came about, and it was only until I started actually looking to trademark the business a few years later where I discovered that name was taken. So our pods had also at that point in time changed to something that was more circular, so we didn't actually really need to use the Q anymore, but we just wanted to retain that history, and I think quick or quality fusion has quite a nice ring to it, so that's where the name Qusion came from. So yeah, that was the concept design in 2018 with the University of Adelaide, and like I said, ended up winning that competition, which was fantastic. The following year, I also presented at something called the Institute of Engineering Technology Present Around the World competition. Not sure, again, if anyone is familiar with that. It was another pitch style event. This is just something that I put my hand up to do. I was working full time as an engineer at this point, and had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I decided to take that early concept and built my first ever minimal viable product, which is that funky looking image that you can see on the screen right there. So That was made out of the prize money that I won from the E-Tech Challenge the previous year. That is quite literally a bubble tea shaker that I purchased from China at the point in time. I got some wooden planks and some parts from Bunnings. I also purchased a 3D printer, which I still use to date. It was actually one of the best purchases I've ever made, using the prize money again from the E-Tech Challenge, and then just assembled what would sort of be essentially the first minimal viable product. So I wouldn't ever actually serve a cocktail to anyone out of that machine, but it gave a bit of an idea of how it could possibly work. And yeah, even the cocktail shakers at the time, I was using thermists. And you'll see I've even got, if I have this, these are bike cup holders. We have thermists, and I remember cutting just some holes in there to allow the flow of liquid to go through. Yeah, these were the wooden planks from Bunnings. These were 3D printed pod inserts, I guess you could label them, that I made with my 3D printer. And I don't have any capsules you'll see there, but at this point in time, the capsules were triangular. So yeah, I used this to present at the Present Around the World competition. And the purpose of that competition was similar to the E-Tech Challenge. It was obviously to sort of pitch an idea, a solution to a problem, but it was more of an engineering focus back then. So that is why I actually built the minimal viable product at that point in time to sort of demo and showcase it. Again, with that competition, I ended up winning the state competition for that, which was super honoured. You know, it was fantastic opportunity. It was at this point in time, a panel member actually came up to me and said, this is a great idea. I think you should quit your full-time job and work on this. And being an engineer, I was quite risk adverse. I was also very young, had no idea what I was doing. So I wasn't ready to quite take the leap at that point in time, but kind of had early indications of the potential success that this product might have. Unfortunately, I was meant to go to London to present at the national comp. That was the sort of next phase of this competition. But if you notice, 2019 was the start of COVID or the thick of it, and the whole competition unfortunately got cancelled. So it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because at that point in time, my patent for this hadn't quite been finalised, and after I had a bit more legal advice, it was quite a blessing in disguise that I didn't present it, because I may have had some legal ramifications around my patent. All right, the next stage, you'll see there was a bit of a gap between 2019 and 2022. That was mainly because of COVID. I was working again full-time as an engineer, so I didn't really have a huge amount of time to work on components of Qusion, and I was obviously focusing on my career at that time. But you know, the good thing around that sort of gap was I was a sponge. I soaked as much knowledge and experience from my work, and this is around the time where I started getting into project and design management. So the skills I learnt in those 3 years really translated quite well into my business. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. But you'll see here that story I told you at the start around the problem about finding the ingredients and the problem of making a cocktail at home and the cost of having a cocktail on a night out. That's something I quite literally physically experienced. That's why I explained that story. And it was back in 2022 where I experienced this again. I don't know if we have any soccer fans here, but I'm a huge EPL supporter. I follow Manchester United, or they're my main team. And they were playing in the FA Cup final against Manchester City in 2022, I'm pretty sure. Unfortunately, they lost that match, as in Manchester United did, and I remember going to the rooftop bar at the casino wanting to try and treat myself, at least to make myself feel a little bit better, and that's when I ordered that espresso martini that cost $24 and took 20 minutes to come out. And it was at that point in time I thought, no, I kind of want to revisit this invention that I had back in my uni days and take this a bit more seriously. So as a result, I, in my spare time, developed what you see there, which is our second minimal viable product. So this, again, looks completely different to the previous designs that you've seen. And the whole purpose of this is that I wanted to develop something at low cost that would allow me to test how the product would work in an end user environment. So to do that, rather than building a completely new machine, I split the machine into the two different components. So you'd imagine the first component is essentially the piercing mechanism. There's a way to pierce the capsules and put it into a cocktail shaker, which is what you see there. It's a really simple mechanism. We called it a V-track. You'd literally place the pods on that V-track, it would pierce the capsules, and they would just flow down into that cocktail shaker right there. That bubble tea shaker that I talked about in my earlier sort of designs, that was its own separate station. So that station would physically shake the cocktail. So if you'd imagine, the process would be, you would get your cocktail shaker, select the pods that you would want to make your cocktail, place them into this V-track. Once that has extracted it, we would then physically move that cocktail shaker into the shaking component, and then that would physically shake the machine. That would physically shake the cocktail. So we just separated it. That was the best way I could think of at that point in time to test the concept without spending a huge amount of money developing something completely new. And then to test this, I actually purchased a portable coffee and bar trailer, which is, what you can see on that slide there. So I purchased this in Melbourne. It was a pretty old, rundown trailer. So I literally brought it to Adelaide, and it was a bit of a passion project with my dad. We quite literally just renovated it. We redid it. It didn't cost a huge amount of money. It came with a coffee machine, so we thought, why not include the coffee machine in there? And the whole point of it was to take this to as many events as possible, and to try and make cocktails there to see how it would function in end-user environments. And within a year of operation, so already from 2022 to 2023, we actually managed to get into the Adelaide 500, which is one of the biggest events, I guess, in terms of foot traffic and one of the major events here in Adelaide. So within a year, we managed to get in here. And I'll go through that in a little bit more detail later, because this is more product-oriented. I go through a bit more of the events that we've done later on. But this ended up being a hugely successful event, and this was a trigger for Qusion to be taken, again, a bit more seriously. And like I said, because that was the trigger, that actually led us into 2023, where I progressed the design and development of the first actual business-to-consumer prototype. So I haven't brought that machine with me here today, but you can kind of see it in the background there. This is a render of the machine. This is the actual prototype, the physical prototype that we have in the background there. And this was the first time where I actually combined the two components together. So rather than the piercing mechanism being separated and the shaking component being separated, it came all together in as one machine. So again, I was doing this in the background while I was working still as an engineer, but using sort of my 3D modeling skills that I've learned from my uni days as well as at work, progressed that design in the background, and then actually approached a couple of industrial designers and manufacturers here to help me put it together. So we developed that and ended up being, again, hugely successful. Following that as well, the production of that prototype, I also did a program known as the SAYES program. So that's the South Australian Young Entrepreneur Scheme. I showcased this prototype, and it was the whole point of this program was really to develop a business plan. This was more entrepreneurial, to get a better understanding of, it's great, you have this invention, but how do you actually make money using this machine? So that was all about the development of a business plan. And following the program that I did there, along with my success at the Adelaide 500, along with the development of the first prototype, I actually won the South Australian Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. So was hugely honoured for that. Again, showcased the potential success for Qusion. And that's my mentor that you see on the slide there. He sort of helped me develop my business plan and worked with me throughout the SAYES program. So Ben is his name. I still catch up with him quite frequently to date. So that's a great connection that was made. Following that, I tried to see where I could potentially get a little bit more funding to assist me in getting this invention up and running. And that is where I found the Think Seed program. And that's also the first time where I met Sasha. So this is with the University of Adelaide, and at this point, again, I'm still working as an engineer at this point in time. And it's quite interesting because this concept originated from the University of Adelaide. I sort of went away, worked on my own job for the next 5 or 6 years, and then came back to the University of Adelaide, who offered this accelerator program. So the whole point of it, again, was to get entrepreneurs investor ready, improve the sort of different elements and facets that would be required to get investment and to get a business up and running. And the ultimate outcome, I guess, of the event was to pitch the concept at a pitch event at the end. So that's where we did I think it was a 6-minute pitch, and I actually showcased a prototype at that point in time. So that image there is actually taken from the event. And Yeah, that was fantastic, and I'm still, as a result of this program, the University of Adelaide are actually one of our lead investors. So it's been an awesome story with them. How we started with uni, came back to them with the accelerator program, and now they're one of our lead investors, which is fantastic. And finally, that leads us to where we are right now, the production of the business-to-business prototype, which is the machine that you see right there. So that had only been developed over the last 3 months or so, and I've taken it to a number of different events and functions, and it's proven to be hugely successful. Or any learnings that I've taken from that machine has been implemented into the revised designs, and yeah, we're looking to take this to market within by the end of this year. So super excited for that opportunity, and yeah, still quite a few more steps to go through, and happy to explain and go through that all in more detail later, but that's currently where we're at. And this image back here is actually, I was at a recent trade show where we demoed the machine for the first time and made a range of cocktails. Yeah, pretty exciting. And awesome, and I guess this slide is just a bit of a summary to show the design journey. So this is, again, the original concept from University of Adelaide. Back in my uni days, that was the first ever prototype that was built. That was the first ever minimal viable product that I could actually take to events and make money with. That there is the first prototype for our business to consumer model, and that there is the first, or was a render of our business to business model. So you'll see that it went through quite a bit of a design journey from where it was here to where it ended up being, and there's a number of reasons for that. And I guess the primary reason for that was really around this stage. You don't really know the exact features and requirements for the machines and the innovation until you actually take it out to the end user environment. You test it thoroughly, see what end users actually want. Even at this point in time, I wasn't even thinking of a business to business model. It was actually all around the business to consumer model. It was only until I had a bit more experience with the Think Seed program, with the Say Yes program, where I did a lot more financial modeling, where I realized, well, to manufacture these machines en masse would require a huge amount of upfront capital. So that's what led us to develop the business-to-business model. Qusion's entire business model is all around trying to get the actual physical machines out to as many different places as easy and affordable as possible. So our profit margins, for example, on the machines, that's not really what is important. Our business model is all on the recurring sale of our pods, our cocktails, essentially. So, for example, businesses would be looking to make more cocktails per machine than the home consumer model. So it's at this point in time, after doing a bit more financial modeling, that we realized, well, this is the better approach. Let's actually release a business model first. And that's what led us to develop that machine at the end, which, again, is very different to where we started with. All right, that was quite a bit of me talking about the actual business journey. I'll quickly go through some of, I guess, our differentiation, our competition, some of the attraction events that we've done to date. But I guess one of the common questions is that I often get is, surely one of these machines exists already? And the answer to that is, yeah, they do. I'll go through some of the existing machines around the world. But I guess before we go into that, the sort of 6 different categories or the key advantages that Qusion has can be summarized on this slide. So convenient, it's meant to take away I guess, strenuous thought about how to make a cocktail and then having it all packaged in one capsule rather than having to go to all these different places to buy the ingredients to make your cocktail. It's flexible, so the machine, I haven't really discussed about that yet, but like I mentioned, it's the first of its kind in the world, and it's a multi-capsule cocktail maker. So the big difference there is this machine can make more than one cocktail at once. So for example, the business-to-business model has the ability you can make 3 cocktails in one single cocktail shaker. So you could quite literally make 3 espresso martinis on one side, and you could make 3 Cosmos on the other side. And you can shake that all in one rotation, in one run, I guess, of the machine. So you can make 6 cocktails in under 2 minutes, basically. That doesn't quite exist around the world. That's quite unique to Qusion. It's consistent. Obviously, the pods are mixed with the perfect blend of the ingredients for your cocktail, so you get a consistent quality cocktail every single time. Plus, the machine actually physically agitates and quite thoroughly shakes the cocktail. So I might be able to demo it later to show you how vigorous the actual shaking motion is, but it does produce a consistent cocktail every time. Sorry, before I go into that. Again, it's unique, it's patented. In fact, it's so unique that some of our main competitors, which I'll go through in a bit, didn't even show up in Qusion's original patentability search. So there were so many different components from Qusion to our key competitors that it really is the first of its kind in the world. Again, it's affordable. Our business model is all around making the machines as affordable as possible. And our cocktails are also at a very reasonable price, and they're tailored based on the venue or the event that we go to. And importantly as well, this is probably one of the key aspects with Qusion, is it's emotional. A lot of the existing machines are almost automated to the degree where it loses the class or the touch of a cocktail. Like you almost want to see, or you almost want to have that visual and audible experience. So we acknowledge that with cocktails. We wanted to retain as much of that as possible. We completely acknowledge that cocktails are a timeless and historical drink. So we wanted to retain as much of that visual and audible experience as much as possible, which is why we implemented the shaking component. Plus, it also improves the overall consistency and quality of the drink as well. So, yeah, and just to quickly, I'll go through some of our existing competitors. We've got ready-to-drink cocktails. So these are just bottled, pre-mixed cocktails. So there's obviously, there's not much of an emotional experience, and I feel like there's a lot of the class and the overall elegance associated with a cocktail that's missed if you're just packaging it in a pre-mixed bottle. There's obviously bars and restaurants. Although there's, like I described in the problem earlier on, there's a lot of associated problems with cocktails being made at a bar. And these are some examples of existing cocktail machines that are around the world. I can go through this in a bit more detail. I guess most notably is the emotional component. So a lot of these drinks just quite literally, you would insert a pod into this machine here. This is Bartesian. This is one of our closest global competitors. You would literally insert a capsule. Users will have to manually fill these reservoirs with their own alcohol, so the pods don't contain the alcohol. And then the machine, with the press of a button, will just pour it into a glass. So completely acknowledge it's consistent, it's relatively convenient, but again, you lose that sort of quality and that emotional sort of engagement as a result. And these machines are essentially quite similar to Bartesian's model there. And that's just a summary sort of Qusion where, those are our key touch points and our key advantages. In terms of where these machines are located, you'll see none of them are actually, or in saying that, none of them are quite in Australia yet. Bartesian has actually just recently launched into Australia, which is great. But especially from the B2B side, none of these machines quite tailor to the business-to-business environment, and especially not in Australia yet. Awesome. In terms of traction, again, this business model has only been developed over the last 3 months or so. And within that period of time, we've already had 21 expression of interest as well as pre-orders from a range of different businesses just here in Adelaide. Most notably, we're currently in consultation with RD Jones as well as Adelaide Oval. So these are massive contracts. If we get these, for context, RD Jones own a number of bars and restaurants throughout Adelaide, most notably the Moseley in Glenelg. So that would be a fantastic opportunity along with Adelaide Oval. So, but apart from that, we've even had interest from golf clubs, catering companies. We've had offers to franchise the business in Melbourne already. So it's pretty exciting. We're getting quite a bit of traction just even in the last 3 months or so. And other than that, apart from just the business pre-orders, we also have the opportunity to do a number of major events. So I know I mentioned I do a bit of running athletics. We're doing the stall gift in the Bay Sheffield. We've already been accepted into Adelaide Show as well as the Christmas markets in Harndorf. And we're looking to do the Adelaide 500 again, but not just being a vendor there making cocktails. We're actually looking to sell the machines for use at other bars at the Adelaide 500 and as well as at Gluttony as well. So these two are still in conversation, but yeah, it's looking promising, and it's, again, exciting opportunities. And just to give you a bit of an idea of the sort of traction that we've had, just some of the events that we've had along the way as well. We did, this is the Bay Sheffield. Again, I'm not sure if anyone is familiar. This is our premier sort of running event in South Australia. This is the equivalent of the stall gift, but for Adelaide. A little bit smaller, but We hosted, or we did cocktails in the Bay Sheffield in 22 and 23. We also were at Illuminate in 2023. We're at a Business SA Chamber event where you can kind of see the setup there. We have a portable tabletop bar that we took. We're making cocktails, and we got a huge amount of interest on the day, which was fantastic. The National Wine Centre, so this is where we did the pitch event. So that's the sort of audience there. And again, touching back on the Adelaide 500, the reason this was such a successful event was that there was a turning point on one of the last days at the Adelaide 500. There was a Robbie Williams concert, I believe, on the way from the main track of the Adelaide 500 to the actual concert, and Qusion happened to be positioned in the middle of that path. And the amount of foot traffic that we had was quite literally ridiculous. So we managed to serve 250 cocktails in a 4-hour period in the confines of our trailer using our machines. So this trailer the internals of it would be about 3 meters by 2 meters wide. It's quite small. We were doing coffees at the same time, as well as juices. We had 3 staff. All of us obviously had our responsible service of alcohol, our RSA, but none of us had actually been in a bar environment or had hospitality experience apart from making coffees. Yeah, despite that, we managed to make a range of 5 different cocktails over a 4-hour period and managed to make 250 cocktails in a night. So it absolutely was, yeah. So just imagine the physical labor from one person having to shake 250 cocktails for that entire period of time. It's just, traditional methods, this wouldn't be feasible. So it's kind of to show the potential that the machine would have. And again, that was one of the huge turning points at this point in time where I wanted to take the business a lot more seriously. That, as a result, is what led me to winning Young Entrepreneur of the Year, along with the SAYS program, and we actually got featured in the newspaper as a result from that. So, yeah, that was fantastic. In terms of our suppliers, again, this is more linked to our traction. So even 6 months ago, when I was part of the accelerator program with the University of Adelaide, it was really hard for us to even get one supplier. Obviously, we were relatively new. We had I'm a new founder, new startup business. It's sometimes difficult for suppliers to come on board to risk their reputation and brand on something new, especially if we don't make quality cocktails. But I was fortunate enough to get connections with Umbra Spirits, who have been fantastic to date. They've helped us create a range of cocktails, one of our first suppliers, and ever since they sort of came in and we've had a bit of success with Qusion at a lot of these events, you'll see this whole range of suppliers have sort of come into Qusion, and it's created quite a unique opportunity. So you imagine these are all Adelaide-based suppliers. So we're using Adelaide-based suppliers, making Adelaide cocktails, using recipes based from mixologists in Adelaide, using an Adelaide-born invention as well. So it's quite a good story. And yeah, the team and the timeline. So currently, sorry, this slide I realized was taken from a presentation I did for for another group where I knew them from athletics, so that's why I've got a picture of me running there. I just realized that, but it's primarily myself. I'm the sole shareholder of Qusion at this point in time. But in saying that, we've had Simon, Mark, and Macy are actually some of Qusion's first buy-ins. So they saw the vision for Qusion. Simon and Mark actually ended up buying or putting pre-orders in for our machines. So they're going to be some of the first people to actually get the machines. And they came up to me and essentially said, look, Jesse, we see the vision. We actually want to join you on this journey. It's not only just buy the machines. We want to run the events using your cocktail machines, but we actually want to help you in the sales and events side. So they've been a huge help to date, which has been fantastic, and sort of shows the interest and traction that Qusion has had along the way. And just to go with timelines, so I'm currently going through a round of funding as we speak, so we're looking to close that relatively soon. The whole purpose of this is to really be able to manufacture the initial batch of those business-to-business models to cater to the 21 and so businesses that have expressed interest and ones that have developed or have given pre-orders. So yeah, we're looking to launch the B2B product around the end of this year, or within this or the next financial year, I should say, which is coming up. And then following that, we're looking to actually go through another round of funding to ultimately scale interstate. So we're already having those conversations now with groups wanting to franchise in Melbourne. But that's going to be the intent of the next round of funding. And then ultimately, our long-term vision for Qusion has always been to be a household name. Like I mentioned, the Nespresso of cocktails. Not sure how much longer I can keep saying that, but ultimately, within the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be looking to launch the B2C iteration of our innovation, which is super exciting. Apart from that, that is everything I had to go through today. That was a bit of a holistic view of my journey, sort of our trajectory, the traction, and where we're looking to head to in the next 2 to 3 years. So, yeah, thank you. Appreciate.
What does the QR code take us to?
It takes you to a link tree on my website. So, it gives you links to my Instagram. It will take you to our pre-order page as well as our actual website where you can find more information about the innovation.
Do you have any live demonstrations for us?
What was that, sorry?
Do you have any live demonstrations for us?
I absolutely can, yeah. All I need is a PowerPoint and maybe some ice. That's it.
Give Jesse a round of applause.
Thank you. The benefits of the actual machine. For example, traditional machines that would make an espresso martini wouldn't quite get that level of foam that you would expect from one. But because of how much this actually agitates the cocktail, and without any foaming agents, you actually get quite a rich foam on the espresso martini, which is quite good. Obviously, it's a sign of quality, I guess. Unfortunately, we don't have ice though, so I have no idea how this espresso martini is even going to look. But well, I'll show the process anyway. So, get some capsules here. So currently, these are the capsules that we're using for Qusion. These are just sample capsules for our espresso martini, I believe. Actually not labelled here, but they should be. Again, like I mentioned, these are ultimately going to be the capsule that contains the entire espresso martini. So it'll come in one single capsule as opposed to the two here. So, I forgot to put my drip. That's all right. Basically, you would insert the capsules into the machine, and then you would just pierce it. That drains into the shaker. And the awesome thing about this is while it's doing this, your hands are free. So you can go serve other customers, you can take payments, you can get your glassware ready, you can do...
Do you want to do a coffee?
Yeah, exactly. So like I mentioned, this has the ability to fit, 4 more capsules, which means 2 more cocktails. So I could actually do 3 espresso martinis in this one shaker. I could then do 3 Cosmos in the next shaker. Once that is done, you'll quite literally just close this lid. Unfortunately, the machine is still dripping at the moment. I actually just 3D printed this and applied an epoxy coating on it. That's how we make it food grade. Again, this is going to be made out of stainless steel in the final iteration. This is just a prototype, but I just have normally a plug that will just stop it from dripping, but I just forgot to install that plug onto this. And then, yeah, usually there would be ice in here, and you just press the button and start shaking. With ice, you would normally hear that classic sound of a cocktail being made at a bar. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. So I remember when I first presented this at the Institute of Engineering and Technology, that Present Around the World competition, I remember saying in that presentation, I was like, oh, we're going to try and implement some soundproofing around it to make it a bit more quiet. And one of the panel members, actually, they said at the end, like, no, leave it as it is. It's actually fantastic.